Ooh. Welcome back to Wham Bam. Thank you, Jams. We highlight new music.
And some old.
That we think deserves acknowledgement.
And thanks.
Wham Bam!
Thank you, Jams!
Today, we have decided to do a bit of a throwback. The part in the intro where we say, and some old. That's my part.
He does great.
And I'm proud of it. But I'm more proud that we're actually doing something that's old instead of me just saying it and us never doing it. We're doing another Wham Bam this week, which is 2-in-1. Sorry. Not sorry. Not sorry. We're getting back on track from last week, and vlog's still coming out on Monday. But we'll be fully back and structured next week. But we looked up something, and I realized that today, when we're recording, is the day that Prince won, in 1985, the Academy Award for
Purple Rain.
Purple Rain.
Purple Rain.
And I was like, man, that would be a great one to do. That's a classic album.
Yeah.
Everybody knows it. But, you know, I feel like a lot of people don't wake up every day and go, throwing on some Purple Rain. I mean,
they should be.
They should, and we kind of do. We kind of fuck with Prince pretty hard.
Yeah. We talked about Prince in, I think we did a ranking in the podcast, and it was brought up on top 5 Super Bowls was the ranking.
Yeah. Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
We totally talked about that.
Yeah, so the name of the project is Purple Rain, obviously. It's Prince and the
Revolution.
Prince. It's Prince and the Revolution. The album is Purple Rain. The genre, it's a lot of things, honestly. It's rock and roll. It's pop. Psychedelia.
R&B. All just sort of.
Yeah. Oh, just beautifully melded together. I don't think anyone had really heard anything like this before.
I still don't think there's anything quite like Prince, man.
No.
And that's why Prince is who
Transcendent.
He is. Definitely transcendent.
Yes.
As in, like, shirt off, arms wide, floating above Jesus status.
Yeah.
It's Prince, man. Really, when it comes down to it, everybody knows Prince, but, I mean, he had such a impact in the 80s when it just came to music, when it came to androgyny. I mean, he was like the glam king, queen, whatever the fuck. Like, he's not even like human. People love making the joke. Like, he's like otherworldly. He's like an alien. Honestly, his music, his vibe, everything about the aesthetic reflects that. Mm-hmm. He opened the door for so many artists. And it'd be one thing if he was just kind of like that and wasn't, you know, the music wasn't there. The music is some of the most iconic shit ever. And it's more than just the vibe. It's the musicianship is outrageous.
Oh,
he's Prince. He's like one of the best guitarists ever.
His guitar skills, licks, and just insane.
Unmatched.
Face melting.
Yeah.
So his vocals are just on point in this album. His phrasing, his range is obviously insane. I was listening to some of the tracks, and I had to go back because I was trying to like sing along with him on some of these things, and the way he phrased things was so unique. It's not. He doesn't just sing in that basic. It's very almost choppy sometimes. It like takes pauses. It takes a beat before he says things, and you're like, oh, wow, that's not how I would have done that, but that's awesome that he did that. You know?
Well, that's because that even more so plays into the aesthetic of who he is.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like
100%.
being like, I'm doing it differently.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna do it where people think or where we're supposed to be told to do it.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna sort of. It just kind of exudes out.
Yeah.
You know?
Darling Nikki, God, trying to sing along to that. It's a weird song in itself, but like trying to sing along with that.
Nobody can.
Like it's not the iambic pentameter, but like with the flow of how he sings things is almost impossible.
You just have to like listen to it 100,000 times and just like memorize exactly how he does it, because all of these feel live. Like that's kind of the thing about this album, is that it just sort of has this like live feeling to it, so that every track isn't as structured as you would think it is. There's always something else over here. And then there's just like moments where he's just screaming at the top of his lungs. And it's like
it's
amazing.
Perfect.
It's perfect somehow. Like it sounds so good. It's the Prince scream, and nobody's done that. It's almost it's like Michael Jackson level of like hee hee. Like it's when you hear it, you're like, that's Prince.
Yeah.
Or that's Michael Jackson. Like it's that iconic.
I've got some lyrics pulled up from Darling Nikki that are just wildly crazy, and they're crass. But the reason I'm bringing them up because this is the '80s. This isn't 2020. You know, this isn't last year where like, you know, my wet ass pussy. You know, my 35 years ago. And here's a tidbit. I guess you could say she was a sex fiend. I met her in a hotel lobby, masturbating with a magazine. I don't bring it up to be crass. I bring it up because like people just weren't talking like that. They weren't singing like that.
Yeah. Well, the 80s, that's when it really started coming out with this kind of stuff.
Of course, but he was like, I mean, so much of this album is talked about how it's sexualized, and Darling Nikki is like the paramount of that.
So speaking of screaming, that's maybe the most screaming that he does on it.
So many sexual noise. He's definitely known for his sexual noise.
He sounds like he's having an orgasm at certain points.
Oh god, I don't even want to like try it. Turn me on too much.
Well, actually, it wasn't as bad as I thought when it was coming out of my mouth. I thought it was going to sound a lot stupider than that.
You sounded like a orgasming parakeet.
Look, like a lot of people say, like the '70s was the glam era. But when I really think about it, the '80s was, I think, way more glam. All of these album covers and shit that Prince had, he's like naked as shit.
Look at this man.
You know, I mean, he's tame in this one.
Yeah. Oh, but he's got his shirt off in most.
He's always just like touching his body. There's so much
he's
sex.
Like the king of glam. Yeah.
Yeah.
So on to tracks. There's 5 tracks on this album that were singles. So
they're also probably the most known Prince songs.
Yeah, definitely up there.
It's only about 45 minutes.
It's 45, but for 9 songs, there's some long ones on there. Yeah, there's a couple shorter ones, but like Purple Rain is almost 8 minutes long.
Yeah, well
yeah.
But most of the other ones are like they're like 5 minute, like they're long grooves, which is like definitely what Prince is kind of known for.
Yeah.
Overall.
Funny, so many of the songs, the lyrics stop like halfway through the song and they just jam out for like a few minutes.
My dad loves Prince, and my dad was super obsessed with the first track, which is Let's Go Crazy. That was kind of my introductory to Prince, and so that song will always have a very special place in my heart.
Yeah. Dearly beloved. Yeah, I mean, come on.
I got that in today, and it's all about this thing called Love. Let's Go Crazy is definitely in my top 3 for me. But I mean, it just flows so well into the next 2 tracks. The Beautiful Ones is like, God, I love that song. That is quintessential, like, Prince leaning into the sex of it all. And it is so good, man.
That one's probably the most unique, you know?
Oh, yeah.
But I mean, I Would Die For You, it's so good.
I Would Die For You is like quintessential 80s drum machine, like so good, man. Don't leave, you won't be doing it.
Let's Go Crazy, When Doves Cry, I Would Die For You, and Purple Rain. And like those 4 songs are just masterpieces. It is a 12-time platinum award-winning album.
Count them.
And then of course it ends with Purple Rain and with that crazy jam session at the end that is just unbelievable. The lyrics in that song are just so beautiful too.
It's the ascension to heaven.
Oh god, it really is. Is it cohesive? Yeah, but it's really fucking weird in some spots, I'll say that.
Just like the movie, which is the full accompanying piece to it.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing. It's 80s, man. That plays to the time period. It plays to this whole conceptual thing, and Prince does it better than most.
The thing about albums, you should listen to it start to finish.
That's how it was intended.
And that's how we review these. So when we say, is it cohesive, it's like start to finish. Does it ebb and flow? Is it dynamic? And this album absolutely is. It is a masterpiece. And one of the quintessential albums of not just that generation, but of all time. I think it was number 8 on Rolling Stone's best albums of all time.
Top 10?
It's top 10. It's top 10.
Absolutely.
That's the review. I mean, it's just even embarrassing to try and rank it. It's a 10.
Did we
It's a
really
10.
review it, or did we just talk about how it's a 10?
It's a 10.
The whole time.
Yeah, it's so good. I have a slight criticism, like, well, it's just weird as fuck. But it's still, it goes with the album if you listen to it start to finish, you know?
We're weird as fuck, so we love it.
Yeah, so there you go. Chef's kiss. Treat yourself and thank Prince, R.I.P. Wham Bam! Thank you, Jam!
Boing.